A must-have accessory for an iPad for me is a keyboard case. But keyboard cases for iPad minis represent challenges. Does this case by Arteck rise to those challenges or fall short? Let's get into it. Today in my messy office, I'm going to talk about length about this iPad mini keyboard case that I purchased with my own money, made by a company called Arteck. I'll hit the good, the bad, and maybe some of the ugly, but we'll see. Before diving into it, you should watch this video, links up in the corner should be, and down in the description below, about different styles of keyboard cases. This Arteck is one of the 4 basic styles of keyboard case, and some of the good and the bad that I'm going to talk about stem from Arteck's choice of using this particular style of case. iPad keyboard cases, all of them, are all about compromise. The different styles represent those compromises. Some are better for protection, some are better for being lighter, some try to be more laptop-like, others try and fail to be everything. iPad mini cases take compromise to a whole new level. Standard full-size keyboards like the one on my MacBook Air are 10 3/4 inches or 27.5 centimeters wide. The Magic Keyboard for the 13-inch iPad Pro is full-size. The Apple built it as an uncompromising keyboard, so it's full-sized. Now I've added the keyboard for my 2017 10.5-inch iPad Pro case, which is basically the same size as any 11-inch iPad, iPad Air, or iPad Pro today. That Air keyboard's just over 9 inches or 23 centimeters wide. I've lined up the left side of the Q key with the MacBook Air's Q key. You can see that the keyboard is 16% smaller. The compromise made here is that all the keys that are not letter keys are just a bit smaller. The letter keys are the exact same size, meaning touch typing doesn't change very much. Accordingly, this keyboard is still very, very straightforward to type on. Now look at the size of the iPad mini keyboard. Again, I've lined up the left side of the Q key. This keyboard's just 7 1/4 inches or 18.5 centimeters wide, 32% smaller than a full-size keyboard, 20% smaller than an 11-inch iPad keyboard. That's not Arteck's fault. They have to figure out how to jam an entire keyboard into the width of an iPad mini. They just have less space to work with, so they make even more compromises. Now all the keys have become smaller. Some serve extra duty, and some have been moved. Almost all the compromises Arteck made, other than key size, are on the right side of the keyboard. Some keys moved. The delete key isn't up next to the equal sign anymore. It moved down a row and is now next to the P key. The question mark and slash key both moved down next to the space bar, and the vertical bar backslash key moved down to the bottom too. But some other keys get broken up in addition to being moved, and now you need to use the function key to access them. Look at this mess. The 2 bracket keys, neither of which I ever used, were split across 4 keys, and the apostrophe and quotation mark were split across 2 keys. Note too that the command and option keys are now only on the left side. The top row function keys all do triple duty, as Arteck combined the number row with the function row, but I don't really care about that. The only ones I've noticed that actually impact me are the delete key and the apostrophe key. A lot of words have apostrophes, and it's a serious impact to typing flow when you can't type an apostrophe like in the word can't or it's. So I make errors, and then to go fix them, I make another error typing an equal sign instead of a delete. And I've lost track of the number of equal signs that I've typed in the last 2 weeks. In general, the key sizes don't matter that much to me. The one notable exception is the smaller spacebar key. I miss it occasionally because of the way I hold my arthritic old hands to type, because I'm not a touch typist. I'm a 3 or 4 finger typist, or as we used to call it, a hunt and peck guy. I have to look at the keyboard anyway, so it's no biggie for me to hit the right keys usually. But if you're a touch typist, the tiny keys could be a big deal for you. But again, don't blame Arteck. People have asked Apple for years for a Magic Keyboard for the iPad mini. And I'm betting this is the exact reason that Apple's never going to make one ever. Apple hates compromise. And you can't make an iPad mini keyboard without a lot of compromises. With the exception of the apostrophe key, I think I'll probably figure out the delete key eventually. I think Arteck's done a pretty good job on compromises on this particular keyboard. But here's my strongest advice. Before you buy any iPad mini keyboard case, take a look at the key layout of the keyboard for the case you're interested in. Zoom in, focus on the keys on the right-hand side of the case. What is the keyboard layout like? What compromises have they made? What keys have they moved and combined? And will it suit you? I think this one more or less suits me, but it might not suit you. Here's some other things Arteck really got right with this case. In my previous Arteck case for the iPad Pro, which is this one, the part of the case that held the iPad itself, which is this part here, it was made of very, very hard plastic. It made it very, very hard to get the case on and off the iPad. This iPad mini case, on the other hand, it's a hard plastic back, but it's nice, soft, and pliable stuff that holds it in. It holds this iPad a lot better than that case did. It's easier to pop on and off, which is great. I really like that upgrade. I use my iPad mini out of the case far more frequently than I ever took my iPad Pro out of its case. As I talk about in my video on iPad cases, I like the two-part laptop-like design best of all. So easy to pop the iPad on and off the case for any reason, including to use it in portrait mode or to hand it to someone to show them something. Plus, reverse it, put it back together, and it's great for sitting on your lap or on a table or reading a book. And when popped off, it fits perfectly in my little IKEA desk stand, and bingo, portrait mode typing. I think Arteck understands that these two-part laptop-like cases are the way to go. Almost all the iPad cases Arteck make are like this, though they do have one kickstand model. As I mentioned in my video on iPad cases, one of the problems with the two-part laptop case designs is that they're pretty heavy. The iPad mini clocks in at 295 grams. This case without the keyboard adds just 98 grams, so this part's just under 300. But the keyboard itself adds another 341 grams. So kitted out, this whole thing now weighs 736 grams. That's still 36% lighter than my old iPad Pro in its keyboard case. So yes, the keyboard cases add weight, but the Mini is still highly portable in this case. One compromise that Arteck made in this case that I don't like is the screen angle. A problem with this general case design is that if you push the screen too far back, the case can tip over. That was a problem with this Arteck case for the iPad Pro. Open it up to its maximum angle of 42 degrees, touch the screen, and it fell over. Arteck fixed this with the iPad mini case, but they significantly overcompensated. They restricted the angle it can tip back to 18 degrees. Well, it sure won't tip over, but the angle's not great to use. I sometimes find myself sticking that little IKEA thing under the keyboard, which tips it back to a perfect 28 degrees. Unfortunately, that makes it hard to type, because now the keyboard's angled backwards at 6 degrees. By the way, you can tip this case back 80 degrees before it wants to tip over. I occasionally take the iPad off the keyboard and put it in the IKEA stand, where it tips back to the perfect 28 degrees too. But this seems to defeat the purpose of having a keyboard case, since I could put it in a stand and use any Bluetooth keyboard, including my full-size one. Limiting the screen angle tip back was not a great move. Give me 10 more degrees, please, Arteck. Another compromise I'm not that big a fan of is the pencil location. You want to have the pencil stored where it can be charged. You can do that absolutely with this, but I'd also like it to be secured there in a slot or something, a strap. But nope, just like Magic keyboards, the pencil just magnetically attaches to the top of the case. And that creates two issues. Well, the first is if you fold it up and throw it in your briefcase, it's almost certain that your pencil's going to slide off and it'll stop charging. Want to open the case with the pencil on it? You have to do it carefully to knock the pencil off. The hinge is intentionally stiff, so grabbing it anywhere to open other than where the pencil sits is not great. In fact, I use my pencil so infrequently that I've stopped leaving it on the case, so I don't knock it off and I don't have issues opening up the case. My final nit is the keys on the keyboard themselves. It may just be an optical illusion, and I have no way of measuring it, but the key travel seems like a lot. It feels a lot more than my last Arteck case. It's for sure more than my MacBook Air, and it's more than my low-profile iClever Bluetooth keyboard. It has a mechanical keyboard feel to it. That's not my thing, but it could be yours. One thing Arteck sure got right with this case is the price. This case is under $50 Canadian and goes on sale for less than that too. There are a lot of keyboard cases out there for iPad minis that range from $80 to $150. This one is great value. So would I recommend this particular Arteck keyboard for the case for the iPad mini? Well, for the price, it's great. Yes, there are compromises, but they're driven by the size of the iPad mini. Every iPad mini keyboard case you're going to look at, every keyboard's going to have compromises. Would this case be great for touch typists? I suspect you could get used to it, but maybe not. I sure wouldn't want to write a novel like War and Peace on this. I personally would have swapped two keys, the bar / key, made that accessible by function, and then given the apostrophe quotation marks their own key, even if they were in funny places. But that's the way I type. Maybe you would be different. I also wish the screen tilted back a little further. But remember, the iPad mini is not designed to be or intended to be used as a massive productivity tool. It's not a laptop. It's never going to be a laptop. If you hate typing on an iPad screen as much as I do, you need a keyboard. And this is a fine one to use. But remember, it's full of compromise. But what do you think of the compromises that Arteck made with this particular keyboard case? Tell me in the comments below. Like if you found the video useful. Subscribe if you'd like to see more content like this. In the meantime, this case is going to be living in my really messy office, along with me, I suspect. Thanks for watching.